All right, so on the daily, we've been pushing up for the past couple of days, and we are looking forward for a retracement back into the 13 EMA or back into the broken trend line. So if you see, I had marked out these highs for May. We've got this high, we've got this high, and I wanted to get a reaction here. So if you notice, price came, stopped, then broke out. So now potentially we could get a retracement and a continuation up, or we could get price coming back into this trend right there. So for now, I'm anticipating a pullback to the 13 EMA. That's my bias. So with that bias, I don't think H4 will give us anything, but let's see. The only time frame we need here would be H1. Okay, so H1, we are trading below the 13, which allows us to look for a pattern on the M15 time frame. Jumping onto M15, we're looking forward for an order block or any form of pattern. So from this highest high here, this would be the order block, which is where price is right now. But before we get to this area here, you will notice that we've price dropped, left a level here, retraced, dropped again, left a level here. So now we've got a high, lower high, a low, a lower low, lower high, lower low. So potentially they can create a lower high here for price to continue within this particular intraday downtrend right there, coming back to this level here. So where is this level coming from? This level is coming from H4. If you notice, that's the H4 order block right there. That's the 4-hour order block. So if price gets here intraday, that's a perfect target to sell from, to sell to. So from here now, if we do break, then price will most likely continue towards that trend line or towards the 50, or price might actually bounce off and push up. So we only want to catch this particular sell for now. So based on the pattern I mentioned on M15, that's where we're going to look for an entry. Okay, right there. It will also be a retest of the 50. We've got a fair value gap there, that gray zone there. So that's where we can potentially start looking for a sell. And this trade can potentially pay up to 30 pips at least. If we can get 30 clean pips here, that will be perfect. Anything above will just be a bonus. So that's my view on C1000. We'll keep actively stoking on this as it can play out just now. C300, so they got into a point of interest, which was this area. And within that point of interest, we also had this zone here, which you see coming through. So initially we had a nice bounce right on 29, I think it was 29.30. Then we dropped, broken order block. So we had a short-term sell here. Price came retested here, another short-term sell here, but this did not follow through. All right, so price came, extended these highs. It's something which we already anticipated. So anyone who was active here, I'm sure you knew that price was most likely going to come back to this level. So they did then created a fresh pattern here. This was yesterday. So we got a break of an order block. I remember I mentioned this setup. We're looking for price to come exactly to this area. So what happened is they pulled back slightly above this level here. So probably some might have been taken out, because I remember when I shared this, price was somewhere here, which means it was a bit of a late entry. So price literally retraced back into this order block here. Then after that, they started to flow to the downside. So what am I anticipating today? I'm still anticipating a sell. This is simply coming from the daily chart. If we open the daily, we should be able to see some nice price action there. Okay, my network is a bit slow. Okay, there we go. So we've got this rejection of both the 13 and the 50 EMA. We've got two rejections there. So what can most likely happen is price can drop So you see this red line I put, it's like an order block, the bottom of this order block here. Let me just zoom in. It's the bottom of this order block here. So if we can break here, for me, that's a safe sell, and we can look forward for price to actually continue falling. But at the same time, price can still be held here and still decide to actually push up. So that can also happen. Remember, on the left-hand side, we've got this demand zone. So price can still react from here and actually push up. So be open to see price do that. But for now, if we can break this level, I think that could be a safe sell. Drop to H4, see if we've got any supply zones. H4. So from H4, you can see this was last week. This whole price action, this is last week. Right, then this is this week. So for now, we have shown that there is potential to come to the downside. We've hit points of interest, but we still need to break this level here for us to actually get a continuation to the downside. So if we're going to get a sell here, do we have any points of interest on each one where we can sell from? Yes, we do. So we've got this nice price action from yesterday, pushing down, breaking this level here. I'm going to use this. Okay, so that level which was broken, price can most likely come retested. What we need for a confirmation is an H1 candle either here or here, showing us that price wants to continue pushing down. So we need a reversal candlestick, number one. Number two, we need the TDI to confirm by giving us either a baseline bounce or a 50 static bounce, which could happen at the same time. So if we get something like that as a confirmation, then we can look forward for a sell targeting this low. And if we do break, then we can look for a continuation. Excuse me. So for now, I'll say that's my view. I'm going to leave this on H1. C5, so C1 actually has potential to still drop also from current market price. So this you have to trade it based on your edge. However you trade, use that to actually have an entry here. You can have one position in current market price, or you can wait for price to come into this point of interest. That's up to you, and that's based on your trading edge. So for me, I've got one runner and I'm waiting for price to retrace into this broken zone there. Then I can scale in. So going to C5, C5 on the daily, with the way I'm seeing it, I feel like we could sell. We could get some sells here. The reason I'm saying we could get sells, you can see we've hit a dynamic resistance point on the 13 EMA. So I also want you guys to pay attention to how this asset is moved from this high to this level here. This is on the daily chart, remember, and we were doing analysis throughout this whole move. So if you notice, check where price was heading. So as long as you understand where price is going, it becomes a bit easier to look for setups because you'll be working with a bias. So on this current setup now, price is hit dynamic resistance. So potentially we could get a sell on the 4 hour. Nice reversal pattern here, although we're still above the 13 EMA. So we also need a little bit of more confirmation. The H1 pattern could sell, but if you notice, I've marked this red line. As soon as we break here, I'm going to sell C5. Soon as we break today's lows, I'm selling C5, and I'll be targeting this zone initially. And if we break, our price will most likely get to that level again on the daily chart. That's also possible. But this is sort of keeping us in line to see what price actually wants to do, because this looks like a range of this particular candle, right? So the best setup should form outside or slightly at the top if we're going to sell. If we're going to push up, we should see this price actually do this. Okay, my network is a bit. We should see this price actually do this. Then we pay attention to this order block here. So if we bounce off here, we can still get the sell we want. That's number one. Number two is if we still come up here and come back inside, we'll definitely be coming back to this downside, so we can stop the sell within here while it's waiting for the third option, which could be price coming back below today's lows for us to still sell. So those are the three things I'm looking for on C500 for me to actually execute. So I'm going to leave this on H1 as well. B5 has been strong, bearish. You can see this is the daily chart. Anything taken here is just forcing a trade. You can see this is a strong bearish. We on the bottom side of the 13 EMA, bottom side of the 50. TDI is way outside the volatility band, which means there's that push, strong push going to the downside. We actually had a break of this level and a retest, and price is continuing on its way down. So I don't think we'll have anything solid on B5 until we get a bullish daily candle at some point. That's when we'll only be looking for buys. For now, strong sells, so nothing here. So I'll actually clear this. All right, I'll actually clear these items, everything, all these markings here, just to make my charts a little bit clean and fresh. Right, there we go. All right, it's done. Okay, so B5, we've got nothing. We've got nothing until price gets to this level here. This level here. This is where most likely you will start to look for buys somewhere there. But for now, I've got nothing. We might get something maybe around this area, because you can see we've got a broken level which was retested. So we could get something around that area as well. So for now, it's just a point of interest. So let me actually put a red line instead of this. All right, so we're just going to leave it like this. Then going to be 1000. B1, B1, B1. B1 has been bullish again for the longest of time, setting all-time highs for the longest of times. Soon as we broke, remember we mentioned 16,000. I think on our last session, we spoke of 16,000. We actually ended up having a very good buy on that day. Which day was it? It was this day here. When we had this analysis here, we actually ended up hitting OTPs, and from there, price just continued on a very strong bullish run. Right, so after such a run, obviously, price has to retrace. So let me see if I can remove some of these things. So we're going to go back to the daily just to check bias. So from what I'm looking at, we extended these highs, these all-time highs. We've got something looking like a baseline bounce right there. So there is a possibility now that we are going to get some form of a retracement or a mini reversal, maybe price coming to give us in a 50 retests. That's also possible. So we could be entering a sell bias here, just based on what we're looking at right now and this TDI confirmation. Of course, we can buy if our pattern shows up. Like you see, for example, right now we bounced off the 50, we're trading about the 13 EMA. So we can still potentially look for a short-term buy, but before we buy, we want to look to the left, see what we have. So again, you can see an extension of this high happened yesterday. TDI gave a baseline bounce. So this is H1. So this is what we're anticipating from the daily chart. This exact same pattern you see here from the daily, we are still up here. So we can potentially have that drop happening. But for now, intraday, we can only buy if we come back above this order block here, coming back to these highs. So we could still maybe spike above, then get that sell happening within the same day, which is today. Here we'll also be getting that baseline bounce again, right on that level as a confirmation to the sell. So if we can get a chance for a short-term buy, we can still execute. But just pay attention to the daily. You can see what I just mentioned. This pattern here, which will most likely form, is the one which we actually have like on the H1. So in terms of patterns, simply the same thing. If you notice this pattern here, it's almost the same with this pattern here. So getting that retracement back to the 50, retracement back to the 50, daily, anticipating a retracement back to the 50. But remember, we have to trade what price is showing us. So if they do show us a continuation of buys, because price can still decide to, you see here, after showing us this potential reversal, they still continue to extend that high. So they could still extend the high before giving a very strong sell back to this level, maybe taking out anyone with stop losses here before the bullish trend continues. These are all possibilities. But for the immediate trend, we're just paying attention to this level. If we break that red line, we're going to look for buys coming back to the highs of yesterday, but price will most likely push down. So we'll just keep an eye there in case we get something which we can use. So looking at the price here, if we are going to buy again, remember we've got this zone here, this gray zone here. It's actually a very valid zone if you ask me. So this is where price can still come to. This zone I marked it from yesterday for this. But if you notice, we came back below, failed to come up. So it's, for me, I feel like it's a significant zone where price can still just like push into. If we're going to sell, then we're going to see that sell continuing. So if we're going to buy, that has to be the definite target. So buy pattern, do we have any buy pattern here? M15 is not so clear. M30, let's see. Let's do this. Got a tiny fair value gap right there. My indicator is failing to get there, but let me just mark the line where the fair value gap is. So if we come back to M15, it's right within this order block area. So a point of interest to just look at is right here. We just need to look at the zone, see how price acts. If we get a reaction here, then we're definitely going to get that buy coming up into the zone as a TP. But if price comes back below, then we're going to know that price is definitely going to sell, as we have seen a sell pattern forming on the daily time frame. So this zone, I feel like it's going to help us just to know where price will most likely go. Can we buy this maybe at the break of this level? Yeah, we can, but your stop loss just has to be tight somewhere in here. You just have to try somehow to have a tighter stop loss. So we could break here without coming into the zone as well. Why I'm saying that is because TDI, we're literally outside the volatility bands. So this shows that we could get a little bit of more momentum without a deeper retracement. So those are some of the things you just need to pay attention to. And again, we trade what price is doing. Remember, as much as we want them to come here, they might not get here. They might just push up. So whatever price is showing us, that's how we actually attack the trade. So put a line here, I can buy above that zone. Does the M5 have a pattern? M5, M20. This is where you just be going through all the time frames. If you get a reason to buy based on a pattern, then you can just execute your trade. So depending again with your trading system, if you see a buy, then you can just execute a buy as well. So looking at the 4 hour, I just checked on my phone. 4 hour, let me just open it here so that you guys see. You see this pattern here. We've got this sort of pattern bouncing off the 13 EMA, and we've got a baseline bounce here. So this also shows price can still come towards these highs. before we get a sell, which is should be yesterday's highs. Let me just confirm. Yes, which is yesterday's highs. Price can still come towards that area. So anyway, from the gray zone which we marked to this high here from yesterday, price can still get there before we get a sell. So if you see a buy here, there's nothing wrong with having one position in current market price, because at the end of the day, this is a pattern. We've hit a dynamic support. We are now trading above another dynamic support, another dynamic support. So price is sort of bouncing on those areas. So here we could actually get something like this. But I would love if we do come up, this will be my TP. I'm not really going to target yesterday's high. I'll just be targeting this gray zone here. So if your trading system shows you a buy, then you can execute one position at current market price. We also have a baseline bounce on the 5-minute time frame. Excuse me. That shows me that there is high chances we can actually get a buy from current market price. Let me just check on the 1 minute. So as soon as you see like a pattern, you want to go through as many time frames as you can, just to see if you've got other confluences lining up, showing you that you can actually take the trade or you can actually scale in. So this is M3. You can also see there's a bit of a pattern here based on moving averages. This is where moving averages come in. So right now we're looking at an intraday push up. So nothing wrong with a buy there. All right, so I think that's it for B1. I'm going to have one buy at current market price. If we break this current high of the day, I'm going to scale in. Then I'll just see how price reacts with this red line on top. Then I'll be targeting that gray zone above. So I'd say that's how I'm viewing B1 for now, based on what I'm looking at. Then step index, just okay, step index, we haven't looked at this in a while, but again, let's see what we have here. So we have that broken zone, which we have from our analysis the other time. Right here, we broke nicely. Here, this is a fake move, like a fake out. This move, I'm sure it almost tricked many people to actually look into longs. But if you notice, the 13 EMA is our dynamic resistance. So from here, price simply came back below. So if you're stoking this, this is where you would have taken your safe sells. And like we said, we're going to be getting probably long-term sells. So for this cell, this is most likely the target. This is also the target. So I'm just going to put some black lines there. That's a target. That's a target. So bias is bearish. If bias is bearish, we need to look for sell patterns. But when you look at this impulsive move here, you see we've got a broken structure here. So that gives us a place where price can just potentially retrace to before the sell continues. So let's see what H4 has got. H4 impulsive move right from the top, so we can run a fib here. So if this is a retracement back up, price will most likely get into the 38.2 or 50 area before we get a continuation. That's if this is a retracement. And again, here we've got this zone, so we might still get a reaction before we get here if there is strong momentum also. So we've got point of interest number 1, point of interest number 2. The probability of this price just selling without retracing is also there, but we are going to use the H1 to get those sells. So for now, we are back above the 13, which means there is no immediate sell. The only best position or best way to look at this will be to wait for that potential retracement either into this level They might also retrace into this minor level, or they might just come to this higher time frame point of interest, which is above here. So I think for this, we just have to keep stalking. Maybe leave it on each four for now, so that we can just pay attention to a higher time frame movement price before we decide what to do. So we could get buys actually for the retracement. So if you can get a buy pattern, you can consider a buy, but just know it might be short term since the higher time frame trend is bearish. I would rather prefer waiting for the sells because the higher time frame is actually showing us that we are in the sell motion here on step. So for this, I'll just wait. So I've got nothing on B5. I've got nothing on step. B1, we've got one runner waiting for a push up. C5, it's still in the range. We are still patiently waiting for it. C5, one runner waiting for a potential pullback or a drop. Then C3 waiting for price to get into this broken area from yesterday. Then lastly, we've got jump 10. Right now, we are trading on a dynamic support. There is no clear direction here. If we are to zoom in, there is no clear direction right from this area. Yes, we are pushing up. We are above the 13, but there is no momentum. It's more or less like a choppy market here. Because if you notice the range of these daily candles, they're almost within one equal range. So I would say for jump, there's nothing now until we come out of the range. So for this asset also, I think I'll just clear all these objects. So if you've got questions, this would be the time to ask. Okay, done with this. So we say price is within the range. What range are we talking about? So the range we're talking about, for now, let me just work with this particular range. The high of this, sorry, the low of this candle and the high of that same candle. So I'm just looking at something like this. So for me to be interested in taking trades, I have to be on the edges of this range or I have to be outside. So as long as we are inside here, of course you might scalp, but there is no direction here. For me, there's no direction. So nothing on J10. Steps you have to wait. B1 active, B5 nothing, C5 waiting, C1 waiting, C3 waiting. So I think I'll just look at B1 for now because if you get it right on B1, it usually pays some good pips. So let's just see if we're going to get that forward upward momentum here. In terms of stop loss to the runner, your stop loss can just be below this last low because this price can still trickle back into the zone we mentioned, give a buy, or they might actually come below and give us that daily chart or higher time frame sell, which we actually saw. So if you're taking this, just know what could potentially happen. So if we do come above here, we're going to add and target this top zone here. So I think that's it from me today. If there's no questions, you can still send your questions on Telegram, share your views. All right, let's see. In the course, I'll be taking. Okay. All right, awesome, bro. Thank you so much for joining. Thank you for making time. Much appreciated. So I think I'll share this on YouTube as well. So for those watching on YouTube, if this is helpful, don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. So enjoy the rest of your day, guys. Good trading.